The Niners were going to trade for wide receiver DaeSean Hamilton. He was with them. They were going to trade for him. It was pretty much a done deal, or they had discussed it. They'd agreed upon it. And then he tore his ACL or something. Did I miss that? He tore his ACL.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Practicing away from the facility, unfortunately, second Broncos player to go down.
So that didn't happen. But it's interesting that the Niners were about to do that. Why do you think the 49ers almost traded for DaeSean Hamilton?
I'll jump in first on this one because I'm interested to hear Jack's opinion on watching film, because I know that he is expert level on that as compared to my novice level in breaking down film. But he reminds me a bit of Kendrick Bourne. I mean, similar size, similar ability to catch the ball away from his body. Although, interestingly, coming out of college, a lot of the knocks against him were that he couldn't catch the ball away from his body, that he let a lot of them come through to his chest. But in his rookie year, he seemed to do a great job of really working on that. And the concern was drops in that rookie year. But so many of them seemed to be focus drops, which, if I remember correctly, was Kendrick's problem early on in his career. It wasn't drops where he just couldn't catch it. It was stop paying attention for a minute, was focused on something else, and lost sight of the ball and then drop it. So I feel like there's a similarity there, and I almost wonder if the 49ers coaching staff or Wes Welker believe that that's a coachable trait, and they believe that they could have remedied that and therefore made him into what they wanted him to be. And then his route running reminded me a bit of Emmanuel Sanders when I see him gliding in and out of his breaks. But I'd be interested to hear Jack's take on that.
There's a lot of things. Rob just perfectly led into kind of the direction that I was going to take this, is that I also see a lot of Kendrick Bourne in him as well from the size and the ability standpoint. But you also got to remember in 2019, his offensive coordinator was Rich Gangarello, who's now back with the 49ers. So he has working knowledge of the receiver. So I think that's what was kind of leading and driving that signing or trade, excuse me.
Great point. There's always the Niners gravitate to players they know. Kyle, Scangarello, they know him. They know they can work with him. I do think there's a lot of similarities between him and Kendrick Bourne, just in terms of measurables, testing numbers, that kind of thing, the way he's used. It's clear. I mean, if you look at his scouting report coming out of college, he was labeled a big slot receiver. That's how the Niners used Kendrick Bourne. That's what the Niners don't have. It's what they want Jalen Hurd to be. But Jalen Hurd's like the Loch Ness Monster. Does he even exist? We're not really sure. So yeah, they're looking for something in specific, and they don't have it quite settled yet. They do have someone else we're going to talk about in a minute, but it's clear that the Niners agree with all of their fans that they have a need for a number 3 receiver, and they almost got him. Almost got him. So another trade could be happening down the line. They have Mohamed Sanu, kind of fills that need, but like Sanu's a little old. I mean, he doesn't really have much left. Richie James is not a big slot receiver. Marquise Lee, we'll talk about him in a minute, but yeah.
Yeah, this felt to me like the one area that the 49ers failed to address and really did sort of a wing and a prayer approach of like, well, we've got a couple of solutions that may, like if Jalen Hurd is healthy, we're good there. Or if one of these older guys can come back and reclaim the form that they had, we're good there. We've got a journeyman that, if he needs to fill in for a bit, he can. It feels a lot to me like how we addressed the interior line scenario last offseason, and that didn't turn out so well, right? We attempted to rely on the health of someone who was coming back from injury that never made it back, right? And I think that if we're relying on Jalen Hurd, as much as I believe in him and his tough physical style, it's that same tough physical style that could get him injured after being back for 2 or 3 games. And to count on one of the older guys that's coming in to regain their form, again, I think it's possible, but it doesn't strike me as the type of plan that you bank on. You're hoping, but it doesn't seem likely.
Yeah, it's something that they need to fill out. And I think another thing too to think about is I think this offense is going to evolve a little bit this year, change, and so you might be seeing more of Grant's favorite 49er, Ross Dwelly, because they might be using a little bit more 2 tight end sets because they're running the ball more, depending on who the quarterback is. If Trey Lance actually does win the job, I think you're going to see more of a rushing attack, out of the shotgun and things like that, like you saw out of Kyle Shanahan in 2012 in Washington.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be. I'm really hoping the Niners get Ross Dwelley involved because you don't have to have a 6'1", 205-pound wide. I think like Kyle Shanahan is so locked into like his 2019 team. He really feels like that 2019 was it. That is the formula to win a Super Bowl, and Jimmy messed it up. It's all his fault. But really, if they could just recreate that team as much as possible, not, don't fix what's not broken. So they have to have the 6'1", 205-pound wide receiver. Maybe it's Austin Watkins. Maybe it's Marquise Lee, although he's a little bit shorter. It could have been DaeSean Hamilton.
The only thing I would counter that with, Grant, is last offseason, the real attempts that we made to get in a second tight end, pass-catching tight end, when we did have the third wide receiver already locked up.
True.
And so I think Kyle sees it as various packages that he can take advantage of formations against defenses. And I do think that having that third wide receiver is essential so that you get the smaller defenders on the field. And if it's that big third wide receiver like Jalen Hurd, now you just run him over. So I think he does need that for his peace of mind to have that weapon in his arsenal.